Welcome back, you shitbox junkies and enthusiasts, to another exciting episode of the Art of Shitbox MX5's K24 swaps. As you can see behind me, I've already gotten the old engine and trans and subframe out of the car. Not a lot to show there. I don't think anyone needs a time lapse of mindless work. Surprisingly, it does come out fairly easy, though. Fairly quickly. Only a couple hours to get down to that. Lucky to have a lift, I guess. Behind me, K24, still unassembled. Heads and stuff sitting in the pins. I've been kind of busy. I was hoping to do that this weekend. I don't know if I'll get around to it, but right now I'm more concerned about at least getting the Art of K24 subframe back on and getting it bolted to the NC chassis, so I have a rolling shell again. I made a couple of decisions. So, since I don't want a power steering pump, I've decided to actually buy an Art of K24 steering rack, which is an EPS rack. And luckily, someone actually makes a box to control it now, because it is controlled by the CAN bus system and whatnot. So, that along with an Art of K24 power steering rack, I no longer have to cut up this rack, or at least the mounts off of this subframe, and make it work with the Art of K24 rack. So I'm pretty happy about that. I no longer have to buy a Volvo power steering pump and still run fluids and stuff, and those things are heavy actually, it's a girthy pump. So we're getting rid of that. Today, the main objective is to just get all this stuff off of this subframe, my suspension bolted to the Art of K24 one, so I can throw it back up here. That way, I have a rolling show. This will no longer be a need, I'm pretty sure. I have an aluminum radiator over there that I got on eBay last year that I never got around to putting in. Got a new ATI damper waiting on the dry sump. Oh yes, that's right. Wasn't joking. When I said I was gonna get a dry sump system going for this. I mean, if the possibility is there for gaining 3% more horsepower out of the motor, I'm going in for it. I didn't want to pay $5,000 for a kit, so it's up to me to make an oil pan and maybe a tank, because tanks are kind of expensive depending on what you're looking for. This one is a 4-stage sump, a little bit of added insurance to the block as well while on track. Not really sure how that's going to turn out, but I do have 2 chunks of aluminum over there. I've had this plate aluminum forever, these 2 sheets. So I think I have more than enough to make a flange and the pan, what I need out of it. I've ordered up bungs for the AN fittings, filters, and then I have another sheet of aluminum somewhere there to make a small little baffle area over them. So I don't think it'll be that hard. It'll be a little time consuming, but I think I can pull that off. So right now I'm at a weird point where I'm do I just assemble the K24 block, get it thrown in the NC chassis while I fab up everything, because I have another block right here that I can now use as a test bed, and I can either throw this one in the NC for the time being, just so I can get stuff situated in the engine bay, figure out how much space I got, and start laying stuff out. Or I put this together and then fire it up on the stand one more time to just see how well it's doing, and then throw it in there while I develop the dry sump kit on this one on the stand, or just an engine stand, which might be the easier route actually, to just assemble it on that engine stand. The one thing is, I'm probably going to send this in for a rebuild. The mounting brackets here are on the wrong side. They need to be on this side so it can sit on technically the left side of the engine if we're looking at the back of the motor. And I need to take measurements once that's done with the ATI dampener on here, so I can figure out where I'm going to put said spacer or bracket for the dry sump on here. By the looks of it, I should have plenty of room to do so. Hopefully I can mount the sump right around here somewhere. A heavy little shit for an all aluminum piece. Yeah, somewhere about this area is. I'll go ahead, take some measurements later, and start 3D printing brackets and whatnot for fit up, and then I'll decide what I want to do for the final bracket. I might just have to get an aluminum piece made through Send Cut Send or something, and see how that goes for me. Ruben's also showed up to help me out quickly. Hey Ruben. So that we can get all that stuff situated really quick. And my second gen RX-8 transmission has shown up, supposedly a lower miles one, and apparently the nice thing about these is that the shifting problem from 3 to 4 in the fork have been replaced in this generation because this is identical to an NC 6-speed. So hopefully I'm not gonna have any issues with this thing this season. Go ahead and just start moving shit and tearing the motor off the subframe over there. Kind of forgot to keep filming what we were doing here. You didn't really miss a whole lot, but we got the RX-8 subframe positioned in. It's not bolted in all the way. We're gonna start throwing all the suspension back on here. So I have a roller, I'll have a steering rack sometime this week, and I'll get that back on there. So I have a working, well, a rollable chassis at least, if I need to get it out of the way. And this sets me up to be able to bolt the 6-speed to one of the K blocks in here, and then start positioning it in there. And maybe I will get lazy and just buy the $350 swap mounts for the RX-8. Or I'll just make it, because I'm cheap, and it'll only take me an hour.
The price of everything now is $350 is pretty fucking cheap, right?
I mean, is it? It adds up. A $350 here, $350 there. It adds up, Ruben. Little to no surprise when you buy Midwest car parts, you get Midwest car part problems. The RX-8 subframes, the bolt is fused to the bushing on the inside. We've been cranking at it for a minute here. No real surprise, but at least, you know, I cleaned up the subframe a bit and it bolts right in, obviously. So Ruben's gonna take apart the NC stuff while I start sozzling through all this bullshit to get these arms out. Exciting. All right, so one trip to Home Depot later for some saw blades. These are meant for cast iron pipe cutting. I needed that. I needed two. I needed a 6-inch and this 10-inch or whatever it is to get these off. That went a lot quicker than using medium-sized steel saw blades. I'm gonna keep these arms just in case. I mean, who knows what could happen. Never hurts to have spares for a race car. Everything is off subframe now. So that's great. Wish Ruben was still around so I could throw in the NC parts, but you know what, it's fine. I'll probably take a minute here to clean up the subframe a bit more than I did. Then maybe I will do some work on the actual K block today. Don't know yet. All right, for now we're done. RX-8 subframe in, slightly painted. I know I'm gonna chop up the center anyways to clear the crank up front. Shop Kitten's very vocal today. So next on the agenda, next time around, get the NC components onto the RX-8 subframe, get the RX-8 power steering rack in there, and then figure out which K24 I'm going to shove in there for the time being, or put together my K24 with all the refresh parts and whatnot and shove it in there, which would probably be the smarter of the two ways to go about it, but I also need to still figure out brackets and stuff for the dry sump pump. Looking in the engine bay, don't really know how much room I'm gonna have around here for a dry sump tank. So yeah, we're gonna think about that. I also don't like how the ABS pump sits right next to the header, and I know that I'm gonna end up making very long tube headers that probably get in the way of that. So I might go RX-8 pump like a lot of people do for this standalone system and shove it over there. Not really sure why Mazda didn't shove it over there in the first place, and why it felt that putting it right next to a header is a really good idea. This area does open up a lot of space, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Water pump should fit here fine. My big ass aluminum radiator that I bought, that I actually got for free at the end of the day, will fit in here somehow. I'm pretty sure I'll utilize this intake hole somehow, most likely. I think I'll get rid of this. This will probably go. I'll try and feed the intake fresh air. I am half tempted to do a really big trumpet out the front bumper, but I don't know if it's worth it. So yeah, stay tuned for more K24 swap action, everyone.